40-year-old man is lacing up his boots today in Rijeka to play a match that could be the final dress rehearsal before his last great performance at a World Cup. Luka Modric, the greatest midfielder of his generation, the captain who carried a nation of 4 million people to a World Cup final. And what I'm going to show you today about this friendly between Croatia and Belgium goes far beyond a warm-up match, because what's being decided at Stadion HNK Rijeka is something much bigger than 3 points. It's being decided whether a golden generation can take one last swing at history before disappearing forever. But wait, before we get into any of that, I need you to stay until the end, because there's a question that nobody in sports media is asking about this match, and it has to do with something Zlatko Dalic decided 3 weeks ago that could destroy Croatia's chances before the World Cup even begins. And that decision is directly connected to what is going to happen this afternoon in Rijeka. Let's start with the context. Croatia arrives at this friendly against Belgium as the most underrated European team at the upcoming World Cup. Yes, I said it, underrated. This squad finished third in Russia 2018, runners-up in Qatar 2022, and everyone seems to have decided that because Modric is 40 years old, the project is finished. But the numbers don't lie. In World Cup qualifying, Croatia won 7 of their 8 UEFA Group L matches, scoring 26 goals and conceding just 4. 4 goals against in an entire qualifying campaign. No, that is not a team in decline. That is a team that knows exactly what it's doing. The problem, and here is the meat of the matter, is that Modric played most of that qualifying campaign like a ghost directing traffic from the shadows. Today in Rijeka, with all of Europe watching, Dalic has to answer a very uncomfortable question. Can Modric at 40 years old handle the intensity that Group L is going to demand? Because the first match of the World Cup is not against Panama or Ghana, it's against England, June 17th in Dallas, Texas. And if Modric reaches his physical limit in this friendly against Belgium, that signal is going to travel through every sports newsroom in Europe in less than 24 hours. And meanwhile, on the other side, there's Belgium, a team that has gone 11 matches unbeaten under Rudy Garcia, the French manager who took charge in January 2025. 11 matches, including a 5-2 demolition of the United States in March and a 1-1 draw with Mexico in April. The Red Devils have Kevin De Bruyne, who at 34 remains one of the most dangerous midfielders on the planet, even though he now wears the colors of Napoli rather than Manchester City. They have Thibaut Courtois in goal, a 2-time Champions League winner with Real Madrid. And they have Jérémy Doku, that Manchester City winger capable of destroying any defense in less than 10 meters of running. But here is what the major sports media outlets are not telling you about Belgium. Romelu Lukaku, the all-time leading scorer in Belgian history with 89 goals, has not played a competitive match since March due to a muscular injury. A 33-year-old striker who hasn't competed for more than 2 months and who Rudy Garcia included in the World Cup squad, betting heavily on his recovery. The same Garcia who decided that bet was worth more than giving the opportunity to younger, fitter talent. And this afternoon in Rijeka, when Belgium need a goal in the second half, everyone is going to be watching to see if Lukaku shows up, or if that name on the list was just there to avoid breaking the team's narrative. Now we get to the tactical part that really matters. Dalic is going to set up a 3-4-3 that we've been watching since 2018, and that works when Modric controls the tempo from the center. The big problem with that system against Belgium is not De Bruyne. The big problem is Doku on the left, because the Belgian winger can tear apart any flat defensive line in transition. And Croatia's right channel with Josip Stanisic as wingback is going to have to play the match of his life to stop him. And then there is the other major story of the day. Luka Vučković, 19 years old, center back at Hamburger SV on loan from Tottenham. A kid who still can't legally buy a beer in a bar in the United States is playing this afternoon against Belgium's best attackers as a World Cup audition. Dalic has made it absolutely clear that Vučković is starting in the back 3. Every professional with a laptop in Europe is taking note of what this kid does over the next 90 minutes. If Vučković stands firm, if he proves he can handle this level, Croatia arrives at the World Cup with a certainty at center back that they didn't have 6 months ago. If Vučković falters, Dalic has an enormous problem before the England match. And speaking of questionable decisions, let's go back for a moment to the one I mentioned at the start. Dalic announced the squad on May 18th with a detail that passed almost unnoticed. Modric holds Croatia's international appearance record with 196 caps. He could reach 200 at this World Cup. But before the official announcement, there was a moment of real panic because the midfielder clashed heads with Manuel Locatelli in the match against Juventus at the end of April and missed the rest of the season at AC Milan. The question nobody asked out loud is this: if the injury had been 2 weeks later, if the problem had been more serious, does Croatia have any real alternative to Luka Modric in the center of midfield? The honest answer is no. And that, for a team that has ambitions to reach the World Cup semifinals, is a tactical vulnerability of considerable dimensions. The irony of all this is that the head-to-head record between these two sides could not be more level. 3 wins for Croatia, 3 wins for Belgium, 3 draws across 9 historical meetings. The last meeting was at the Qatar 2022 World Cup, a goalless draw that sent Croatia through and eliminated Belgium, even though the Red Devils had on paper the best 11 in the group. A match that was as poor as its scoreline suggested, but that proved Croatia knows exactly how to neutralize individual talent when the game demands it. What does that mean for this afternoon? That neither team is coming to Rijeka to hand the match to the other, but also that the stadium atmosphere, the pressure of the moment, and the fact that in 9 days the greatest World Cup in history begins with 48 teams across 3 countries. All of that is going to create an intensity that goes well beyond the usual preparation friendly, because this is the fundamental point I want you to take away from this analysis. The 2026 World Cup is Modric's last, possibly De Bruyne's last, definitely the last for Axel Witsel and for Ivan Perisic with his 152 international caps. We are talking about the end of an era of European football that produced 2 finals, a 3rd place, and another bronze medal. And the match this afternoon in Rijeka is the second to last chapter before all of that truly begins in North America. You have to ask yourself a question as a football fan. How many more times are you going to watch Luka Modric in the red and white checkerboard of Croatia, controlling a match from the center of the pitch with that serenity that makes him look like he's playing at a different speed than everyone else? The answer is you can count them on the fingers of your hands. And that turns this friendly into something more than a rehearsal. It is the beginning of a farewell that will last an entire month and that could end with that golden trophy in Dallas or Miami or at MetLife in New Jersey. Croatia versus Belgium in Rijeka. A friendly with far more at stake than a friendly. Vučković facing the biggest examination of his career. Modric in the countdown to his legacy. Doku against Stanisic in the duel that could decide the match. And De Bruyne trying to prove that at 34 he can still be the best midfielder at a World Cup. Which team do you think arrives better prepared for the World Cup? Tell me in the comments. And if you want the complete analysis of Croatia's Group L opponents, what Spain can do, what France can do, the real state of Messi and Argentina before everything kicks off, subscribe, because in the coming days we are going to break down this World Cup match by match, player by player, before June 11th when the ball starts rolling in Mexico City. And before you go, one more thing. Today's match also has a squad selection dimension that Dalek won't admit in public, but that anyone who knows football understands perfectly. There are at least 4 or 5 players in this squad competing for a starting spot in Dallas on June 17th. Martin Baturina from Dinamo Zagreb needs to prove he can occupy the creative space between the lines the Dalek system demands. Nikola Vlasic from Torino has spent 2 seasons in Italy without reaching the level everyone expected of him. And tonight is his chance to silence the critics before it's too late. And Andrej Kramaric, with his 114 caps, needs to remind Dalek that at 33, he still has goals in his legs, because the competition from the younger attackers in this squad is very real. For Belgium, the situation is not so different. Rudy Garcia has in Matias Fernandez Pardo, a 21-year-old from Lille who still has no international caps and who could be the attacking plan B if Lukaku doesn't arrive in time for the debut against Egypt on June 16th. Alexis Saelemaekers from AC Milan needs to convince his manager that he can contribute more from the right flank than his direct rival for a place in the 11. And Charles de Ketelaere from Atalanta, after a brilliant season in Serie A, arrives at the Rijeka friendly with the confidence needed to claim a starting place at the World Cup. All of this makes this match something completely different from a simple June friendly. These are 90 minutes in which decisions will be made that won't appear in any official press release, but that will be sitting in the heads of Dalek and Garcia when they finalize their lineups. That's how real football works, not the version they tell you in the headlines, but the one that happens in the dressing rooms and on the training pitches. And today you have the chance to watch it happen in real time.